evening. Good evening, good evening. What's second Sunday in the final quarter, or as they call it today, New Year. Anyway, there we go. How's you doing? How's your week been? Bit milder on the old weather, so it's not as choppy. Hope you're not needing to use as much of the old juice. That's costing quite a bit of money, isn't it not? Anyway, so this week I thought we'd carry on with a bit of the old last week's, because I don't know if you've been back to the page that I presented at the end of the video for the Antichrist thing. The book wasn't showing what it should do, so I actually copied that part of the book, put it on the page so it's readable just on the page, which also means it's translatable as well. So that'll be better for anybody, you know, that doesn't necessarily read the English. So that, and then I found and put the full book up on the page. So the full book it's only 129 pages. It's not a huge book, but if you thought last week's data was good, then it goes way beyond just that. That's just one chapter that we discussed. The rest of it is going through all the other aspects of what it actually means as a chemical allegory that is the Bible, which is why they had to create the Talmud, didn't they? Because they had to have something contrary to it that's not that, or is completely the doctrine for the lower nature of man. That's how they've managed to pull it all down into those three chakras below the heart, and then therefore keeping you, like we said, the horizontal plane of control on the cross. It prevents you, because of the behaviour they're encouraging, the fear that they're encouraging, that they're able to put this bar across below your heart and keep everybody operating only within that baser expression of man. And that is basically what we're seeing in the system that they're setting up. It's to control that. So, you know, it really is important, isn't it, that we expand our capacity to judge, as the biblical term says, but we know to mean comprehension. How you comprehend what's going on everywhere and all around you, that's the determining factor as to how do you become entangled in it. Is it going to entrap you? And that the only answer is to raise your own energy inside the kingdom within, so that you break that bar and you're no longer just totally existing within that basic animal instinct through which all the religions are serving, or they're not. You know, you look at the doctrines in them, it serves that lower nature. It's there to keep control of that lower nature critter that people are if they exist below there. So it is interesting, but more importantly, so when I had a little look this week again, so I was looking for the book actually, and what I found was there's quite a few videos that have touched using this data. So it's not a new thing anyway, even though the book's 1918. The fact that it's not a secret, it's been pushed around for a while. But somebody sent me one yesterday, very interesting, but it's on the old BitChute. And he's heading to what we discussed last week, but he's going right through the actual mineral state of it, the illnesses, which is interesting because, I mean, if you've kept yourself above that horizontal plane of control that they're setting up, and you didn't suck into the game, the garbage, and you're still free of all that intrusion, then this video, which I will put up under the this live after, because it is well worth a watch. It's quite lengthy, and I'm only halfway through it myself. But he hasn't even got to the occult side of it yet. But it's all leading to that. But how they go through the illnesses like chickenpox, etc., etc. How chickenpox and measles are actually the same condition. They just give it two names to make it look like two diseases, so they can treat two separate things. it's really interesting, and just not just smallpox. There's all sorts of different. It goes through so many different conditions that are assigned basically to a lack of a particular mineral. So if you saw the title of this stream, it's the 12 makes the 13, and the 13 is the product. So let's say we want to bake a cake. Before we get to that cake, we have to mix together, let's say, 12 materials, don't we? And there's a process we have to go through in order to create the product. That product then is the 13. That's why it's such an important number. And why a lot of the Lord classes it as the most powerful number in the universe. Which it is, because it's actually a reference of you, your character, based on how you are handling those 12 parts astrologically, by mineral. Yeah? It's all about the 12 and the 1, isn't it? Everything is. 12 disciples, G and G. It's the body that creates the character. And that's based entirely on what's going on chemically within you, which is based on what you're intaking, food-wise, breathing, eyes, ears. Yeah. All that malarkey, meds, all this stuff that you're taking from your food, from the water, etc., is actually set to prevent you from utilising those perfected 12 products required to create that ascended character. So it's all against you in that sense, chemically, because it's all chemistry, isn't it? Everything you're eating is chemistry. You're breathing it in, and it's all affecting the chemistry within you. And it's so important, this data. And it doesn't negate anything of the biblical either, because I've said this before, you can apply astrology, you can apply mysticism, you can apply numerology, you can apply it as a physical, real story, real people. Whichever angle you approach the Bible from, you will see its meaning, if you get what I'm saying. So this adventure into the chemical Bible isn't, again, well, it's mainly the chemical. You can see it in the Old Testament, but it's mainly what the New Testament's about. It's total chemical allegory. And last week, I'm sure you got a taste of that. Now, this bit we're going to... So I've gone through the book itself, and I've just picked out... So we don't have to go laborious. But the thing is, I've picked out what I thought were important enough so that maybe you want to pursue the book to look at it. Because it's not a long read, but it's so it's like a bunch of keys in essence. That these new terms that we're showing. There's a few translation errors as from Greek to King James, which changes things considerably. It's not laborious. Again, it's only a couple, but when you see them, you'll understand why people say the King James is basically the version for commerce. You'll see how they managed to trick that, a bit like the Schofield Bibles tricked all the Christians to become Zionists. It's the same kind of word wizardry. But again, it's down on us for not checking it out and making sure that what we're saying or claiming is correct is actually correct, isn't it? So it's all down to us in that sense. And the capacity to which you can comprehend or judge is based entirely on your thought processes, what chemistry is being created from those thought processes, food, everything, as a play on how your body is utilising the 12 minerals in the body. And thus the character is born based on the degree of ascension or not in relation to this chemical gospel story, which is, I would say, anybody, like I said, that's managed to get through this 3 years without getting damaged, you can pat yourself on the back, because you are obviously comprehending things a little better. So you're a bit higher up on the old ascension scale, you know what I'm saying, than those poor souls that showed themselves clearly to themselves if they've got the balls to see it, but obviously to everybody else that could see that they've made a serious error. They've been deceived in a manner that can only be afforded to the fact that they are living beneath and thus within the power grid below the heart. So, you know, all the Eastern stuff comes together, everything comes together with this chemical adventure into the biblical script. So we'll just finish it off. I'll go through the parts I've said, but hopefully you'll think at some point you might want to actually read the whole book. I mean, obviously 1918, so he's missing a lot of lingo that we have today, a lot of science, but for its day, it still stands today with the odd shift and change in addition to certain things that are bringing it a bit more up to date, but it still stands. And not only does it give you that as a remedy for yourself or something that you can utilise, it also shows the contradiction between the Catholic theology and also its opposition, the Masonic, both being in error from the foundation. And so their opposition, which has caused death, murder, power struggles and everything we know as history, is for nothing. You know, it's not for the gods of the heavens. It's all for the gods of the underworld. How interesting. I mean, you know, I've been playing with this all week, so obviously it's been floating in my mind all week. So it's just, I'm full of ideas and all sorts. So I thought we'd just nip that through again, so we've got it down. It's done. You've seen it, and you're aware of it. So Mew says, thumbs up. Mark says, a smiley face. Paul Sefton's good evening, Sean, and everybody. Mew says, good evening, Sean, everybody. DY. Hey, Paul says, evening all. Untitled says, hello, Sean. Slipknot says, alright, Sean, and everybody. Oak Tree, hello, all. Hit the like, says Untitled. Public notice. Oggy, all. Like that. Mew Pink. Put the link in the comments, Sean, to the video on BitChute. I will put it under the video because I can't access the chat through Streamlabs because I'm thick. Alright, it's basically that's it. When it comes to the Streamlabs, I am thick as pig shit, and that's it. So I'm still fantastic and amazing, of course, because they're my pronouns, but I might have to add thick as pig shit if it continues as well. So anyway, put the link, yeah. So, Untitled, watched it all, very good presentation. I'm assuming you're speaking... Are you speaking of last week's video we did, or the one from the BitChute? It can't be that one, because I haven't, unless you've seen it. Chemistry and electrical, absolutely. That's it in a nutshell. And as I've said before, you know, this battle people have with the flat earth and the globe earth, and it's got pink over here, and then there's outer walls and what have you. The moon's reflecting in a crater, this, our universe here. They could all potentially be correct. I'm not saying for a second that they're not. But, you know, I still see nothing tangible that would move me off the idea that this is an exceptionally well-crafted holographic universe. So that's how I've always seen it. And thus, you're looking at what will allow you to create. So it's a computer programming situation, isn't it? We know that from the holographs that they're playing with today. So, you know, you put a program in to anything and you set its limitations, just let its barriers. And would you say a computer game is flat or is it on a round ball? It's irrelevant, because whatever it is, it's been made mathematically to work in every way that it was programmed to work. So it doesn't really matter to me whether it's flat or round. I don't see how that would help you in your ultimate endeavour on your life journey. You know what I'm saying? It's just an interesting study, I have to say, because it does show the heliocentric science, not necessarily the idea, but the science that they're using to support it to be rather dubious, to say the least. But then, you know, what can you expect from these fruit bats? I have been on for over 3 years thanks to plasma and minerals. Yeah, so the minerals side of this is so important. And like I said, if you get yourself and you've not damaged yourself, but even if you have, surely it's another way to look at remedying what the mistake you made and hopefully pulling through. But the minerals are so important because they're creating electricity, which is creating the product you, the 13, the 1 and the 3. So, interesting. Game over, says BY the music. Okay, Paul. Somebody says Mupit's got some strikers on. And Public Notice has some strikers on as well. Slipknot. Untitled, where do you get the plasma from, Dan? Where do you get it from? Plasma. Some people can eject you from the ass, you know, I've been told. Some of these Shaolin Temple guys can actually eject it from the bottom and levitate. And of course, I'm being facetious, but I do believe they do say they can levitate. And I'm not, who am I to argue? They might kick me head in. So I'm not going to argue with them, boys. Is the video Space Busters? What in the hell world is that? Space Buster? Oh, yeah, sorry, now I'm with you. Yeah, he is called Space Buster. Oh, yeah, I told you. I've talked to you today, haven't I? Oh, yeah, right, sorry. Sorry, they're untitled. I forgot about that. It is Space Busters. I've only halfway through it, so you probably know it better than me. It's field pressure, says Slipknot. All is about the electrical current, the pressures, creating the magnetic field in the ether, is it not? Is it, you know, that's the sort of idea it's all leading to. Therefore, everything's based on that magnetism and electricity, isn't it? Joining the Dots says greetings. Joining the Dots, greetings. Got some from Dan Winters. Oh, it's a device. Okay. Oh, you'll have to fill us in on that stuff. Plasma. These lads are eating plasma, geezers. Plasma it is then. You don't get 4 heads or out like that, do you? Brown's gas. That sounds a bit ominous, I have to say. Anyway, good evening to all of you. Let's have a look at what crack is. So, if we go there and transition there, we're back to the old page. So I've added a picture of the man himself. This is an interesting image because it's going through the astrology, which is claimed to be even older than the Dendera. But I'd say the Dendera is probably saying the same thing, but obviously instead of using written, it's using symbolism and hieroglyphs. But Aquarius, so you're going through the disciples, you've got Capricorn, John, Sagittarius is James, Scorpio, Andrew, you've got Libras, Peter, Virgo, Bartholomew, Leo, Simon, Cancer, Matthew, Gemini's Judas, Taurus is Thaddeus, Thomas, Philip, and back to James, Aquarius. So, but then he's got some of them have got like on this side create, ascend, Petra, stone, mineral, which is Peter the rock. So that's where you get the rock side of things from. You've got service necessity as Gemini, and firmness led by love in Taurus. So they all have their individual meaning in relation to everything 12 and the 1, which of course the Gospels are based on. So that's an interesting image. There's another image as well, actually. I thought it was the other one, but there's a bit more data on this other one. So that's what we went through last week. Now, as I said, I've got the book in, and I will just... I don't cock it up, because I need to get... Oh, I've got... Alright, so maybe it's not... Oh yeah, it's going to let me. So at some point I'm going to have to get that to 115, because I've not prepared, like I normally don't. So this is an image of I nicked it off video, because it just gives you an idea of what these 12 minerals are. So I presume these are being purchased from some kind of company, but they've calcium fluoride, calcium phosphate, calimur, I don't know what that is, caliphosphate, calc sulfate, so it's calcium sulfate or sulfide, fer phosphate, kali sulfate, mag phosphate. Yeah, so you can get an idea that there are actually 12 minerals that all this is based on, that's dependent on what they're doing, which is then dependent upon your character, based on your thought forms, what you're intaking, you know, are you worried, sick, etc., etc., that all have an effect on this chemistry system. And that's what it's all about. When you apply that then to the old script of the Gospels, the lingo doesn't sound ridiculous, stupid, and like you got to be a poet to get a grip of it, or a lawyer, you know what I'm saying? So it says expanded insight to the book. So this is what I've took out today, this week, put this together. And if you may, then I've paged it as well underneath, so if someone gets you excited, the page you go to, I'll put underneath, so it makes it easy for you. It says the sexual functions of man and woman hold the holy operation of creative energy, manifested male and female, the formation of life, germs, ovum and sex fluids, the divine procedure of the Word made flesh, and the mysteries of conception and birth are the despair of science. Know ye not that your bodies are the temple of the living God, for God breathed into man the breath of life. So you find that, and obviously these pages have a lot more data. I just picked out what I thought might interest you. The nerves of the human body constitute the tree of life, with its leaves of healing. The flowering waters of the rivers of life are the veins and arteries through which sweep the red magnetic currents of love, of spirit made visible. So that's your own blood and everything that's in it. Worry brings on kidney disease, but it is the vagus nerve, and especially that branch running to the kidneys, which undue excitement or worry or strain brings about the paralysis of the kidneys in the performance of their functions. So, keeping you low, keeping you down in that lesser world, that animal world below the heart, is what it's all about from the priesthood's agenda, and they're doing it by every means possible. So that's kidney disease. It says, and that's page 21, scientists have discovered that there are dormant or undeveloped brain cells in countless number, especially in the cerebrum, or upper brain, the seat of the moral faculties, or more definitely speaking, the key, which, when touched with the vital force, set free through the process of physical regeneration by saving the seed and by the baptism in ointment in the spinal cord, lifts the crucified substance wasted by the prodigal son in riotous living up to the most high brain. So that's basically, as we said, it does explain it as we go, so I don't need to keep rabbiting on. The procedure causes the dormant cells or little buds to actually bloom. The simile is perfect. The cells, while dormant, are like a flower yet in the bud. When the substance that is needed for their development reaches them through physical regeneration, as outlined in the plan of salvation, fully explained in part 2, the cells bloom and then vibrate at a rate that causes the consciousness of the new birth. He that is born of God doth not sin, for his seed remaineth in him. And that comes from John. So the seed, whenever you're hearing it, is your semen. It is your sexual, that physiomagnetic seed that was formed, that rests in your solar plexus. If you don't waste it, it changes chemical construction and then moves up the spinal column. And if it gets up to the top, bang, who needs doctors? You know what I'm saying? That's where it all comes from. So, yeah. So then you're into Islander title, aren't you? So, and that's from page 22. At least we have seen the travail of the soul and are satisfied. So there you get Sabbath, don't you? You're at your Sabbath. As we discussed in one of the other videos, this idea of every 1 day a week. The real meaning of it is, when you've done the work, you'll rest. No more temples of the Magi now, but instead the glorious human Beth. At last we have found the true church of God, the human body. In this body or church, spirit operates like some wizard chemist or electrician. No more searching through India's jungles or scaling the Himalayan heights in search for a master, a Mahatma, or an ancient priest dwelling in some mysterious cave where occult rites and ceremonies are supposed to be revealed the wisdom of the past. But instead you have found the kingdom of the real within the temple that needs no outer sun by day nor moon by stars by night to lighten it. And then the enraptured soul becomes conscious that the stone has been rolled away from the door of material concept where it has slept, and it now hears the voice of the Father within. Let there be light. The feels the freedom that comes with the knowing that being is one. Just like ecstasy gave you back in the 90s when it was the good stuff. Especially the blue speckled doves, if I remember correctly. And now man also realises the meaning of the day of judgment. He realises that judgment means understanding, hence the ability to judge. He then judges correctly, for he sees the wisdom of the infinite life in all men, in all things, all events and all environments. Thus does the new birth take place. The kingdom of harmony reigns now. Man must realise, however, that he is the creator or builder of his own body, and that he is responsible for every moment of its building and every hour of its care. That's page 24. When he finds out what he really and how much he has always had to do in the making of himself, what he will be ready to grasp some idea of the wonderful possibilities of every human body, and will know how completely and entirely is every man is his own saviour. Just so long as he denies his own powers and looks outside of himself for salvation from present or future ills, he is indeed a lost creature. If the race is to be redeemed, it must come as the result of thought, followed by action, which is what I've said all the time. It's great being creative in your head, but you've got to follow it through with action. If the race is to think differently, then at present it must have new bodies with new brains, which you can create. New body, which gives you new brains. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's saying. That's page 25. It is well known by chemists that all manner of fruits, grains and vegetables are produced directly from the elements in the earth and not from the soil. The earth, of course, serves as a negative pole and furnishes the mineral salts of lime, magnesium, iron, potassium, sodium and silica, which act as carriers of water, oil, sugar, albumin, etc., and are formed by a precipitation or condensation of principles in the air and not from the soil. And that's page 26, so there's more interesting data on that page. An Egyptian king dreamed that the pyramids of Cheops' mass and miracle is vision. The pyramids are encyclopedic of physical science and astral law, the science of numbers, weights, measures, geometry, astronomy, astrology, and all the deeper mysteries of the human body and soul are symbolized in these incomparable monuments. And that's 29 if you want to have a look what they have to say about the pyramids. The Lord of Transmutation has ascended the throne of Aquarius to rule the world for 2,000 years. Aquarius, the fifth son, and sun as in the sky, of Jacob. Now this is again we're not going to bore you stupid with it, but you know, just to show you that you've got to reapproach the whole biblical everything when you start to see these definitions of these names and words and how it applies to this chemical extravaganza. So the son of Jacob, let me do that again. The Lord of Transmutation has ascended the throne of Aquarius to rule the world for 2,000 years. Aquarius, the fifth son or son of Jacob, which means circle. So Jacob means circle. Or to follow after is Dan. And Hebrew for judge. So Dan, the tribe of Dan, everything that you all think, you see this hoity-toity bunch. No, it's the tribe that had reached the heights of good comprehension or good judge of the surrounding world that they're living in. Not as the lower nature things like create a judge and lord it over you, bum you stupid, and rob you blind, and now kill your grandma. Because if they can get that inheritance as well, all the better. But they don't mind if it passes on to you, because then they'll get you. They'll get it in one way or another anyway, and that's an expert agenda that's been carried out by the Jesuits forever. And the Jehovah's Witnesses are also now very, 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 very adept at doing the same. So keep that in mind, folks. If there's witnesses of the old Jehovah, that blood and guts dog, in your family, you want to keep them well out of your inheritances, well out with the paws, because ultimately the system that is the legal system, being that witnesses are Masonic, will ensure the courts rule in the favour of their chosen one, which usually means somebody they've got in their flock. And that's how they're building up their power base financially. The other aspect, of course, is through the food banks and getting their outsourced providers into the social system, not just that's the Masonic. Because, of course, the witnesses are just another branch of the Masons. Charles Taze being a paedophile, 33-degree Mason, and not a good chap. Grandfather sets up Skull and Bones, which is the death cult, chapter 322 of the German lodges. So there you go. Right. The Lord of Transmutation has ascended the throne of Aquarius. I've done that. No, I haven't. So Hebrew for judge, that's where I got off on some nonsense. Thus the day or time of judgment or understanding will have for its executor the revolutionary planet Uranus, or as it is in the Greek, Uranus. Uranus virtually means son of heaven. Ah, see, that's me. The god is surely a suitable ruler for the zodiacal sign of Aquarius, the man, and then shall appear the sign of the sun, or sunshine of man in the heavens. So new man, new sun, because new sun means new man. Yeah, as above, so below. The solar system now being Aquarius, we may expect, and as a matter of fact, are experiencing the prophecies of great astrologians, as recorded in Matthew 24th, also Luke 21st. In the judgment day, or time of knowledge, we are due to release the process by which base metals are transmuted into gold. So you're on that path. If you haven't took the juice, you've kept away from the garbage, you need to recognise that you've achieved a higher ascension than those that failed at this stage. You're on a roll, guys. You know, getting your shit together now using this method and getting a bit savvy with base minerals, and then more current attention on what you put in your gob. You know what I'm saying? And in through your eyeballs and your lug holes, which means looking at the kind of people you're around, the kind of shit music you listen to. It's all about what you're putting in, because it's affecting the chemistry, because it's affecting your emotional state, your psychological state. So if you're surrounded with fruit bats, you're constantly bombarding your chemical system with negative shit, man. It's passing. You're picking it up. You're carrying it around in your aura. You're putting your own berries in there because you can't understand this attachment game. Transcendentalism, very important, is attachment, and that it's your attachments to things and people that's your biggest boundary to cross when you really start to raise yourself up in this. Now, you know, if you don't actually secure two tosses and just accept that everybody, no matter what the system has said is their relation to you, and you just see them as grown-ups with their own systems, attachments becomes very easy to deal with, because you let them get on with it. You don't have this overriding need to change them. That's what you afford to your offspring when they're only young. But once they get of their own, you let them get on with it, don't you? And don't bother yourself about it anymore unless they need you. So I've been off again on a load of nonsense. In the judgment day, or time of knowledge, we are due to realise the process by which the base metals transmute into gold. Yeah. The word gold comes from ore, a product of the sun's rays, or the breath of life. Life or spirit breathed into man precipitates brain cells and grey matter, which creates or builds the fluids and structure of physical man. Or is the seed, or the word, or the word God, Lord, etc. In the beginning was the word was God, or with God, whichever way you want to say it. But it's sound, isn't it? In the beginning was sound. Some sound. Somebody was saying, drummer. It were a drummer were there. You see, it were me. I started all this shit off when I got a drum kit. So it's my fault. I do apologise, but I'm only kidding as well. But it were a drummer. I'm not being facetious. It's drummer. It were a drummer kicked it all off with the sounds, and nobody could tell me any different. Where are we going? Yeah, and that's on page 31, that stuff. Both in Greek and Hebrew, any fluid, or ether was called water until organised. Then it was wine. Oh, can you see? So all you guys out there that are drinking wine because you thought Jesus said it was a good idea, and that it's fantastic and amazing, and it'll turn you fantastic and amazing. Anyway, the parable of turning water into wine at the marriage of Cana in Galilee is a literal statement of a process taking place every heartbeat in the human organism. Galilee means a circle of water or fluid, the circulatory system. So Jacob does as well, does it? Cana means a dividing place, the lungs or reeds, the tissue and cells of the lungs. Biochemists have shown that food does not form the organic part of blood, but simply furnishes the mineral base by setting free the inorganic or cell salts contained in all foodstuff. The organic part, oil, fibrin, albumin, etc., contained in food is burned or digested in the stomach and intestinal tract to furnish motive power to operate the human machine and draw air into the lungs, or cana, thence into the arteries. Oh, cana, no wonder they're all shitting themselves for cana. They're right down there at the bottom one, the base chakra. That's your Talmud. That's why they ate Canaanites everywhere. Now it's making sense, isn't it? Can you see? So there's your measure. You know, if you're looking for points of reference as to where you're really at because of what you study, you're way beyond up there, you're way down there at the bottom. And when you're in base chakra, you need these systems because you have to control everybody because you're shit scared of everything. Doesn't that just look like the priesthood as it presents itself today? I'd say it does. Into the lungs, or arcana, thence into the arteries, i.e. air carriers. Therefore, it is clearly shown that the spirit unites with the minerals and forms blood, proving that the oil or albumin, etc., found in blood is created every breath at the marriage in Cana of Galilee. So, Canaanites might not be as bad as everybody reckons. Air was called water or the pure sea, viz. Virgin Mary, so we see how water is changed into wine, blood, every moment. So there's a bit more to that bread and wine thing, isn't there, I suppose. We'll not have a look at that. In the New Age, we will need perfect bodies to correspond with higher vibration or motion of the new blood, for all bottles or bodies cannot contain the new wine. Another allegorical statement typifying the same truth reads, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth," i.e. new mind and new body. Yeah? So he didn't come out of his body and he saw a big ball over there and it said, Earth 2. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say that. That's not what he did. You know? And another heaven going, hey, look, we're here. Heaven 2. No. It was just, oh shit, I'm seeing everything completely different. Just like most of you guys are. Because you didn't get snotted in the last 3 years. And that's page 32. A sufficient amount of the cell salts of the body, properly combined and taken as food, not simply to cure some ache, pain or exudation, forms blood that materializes in healthy fluids, flesh and bone tissue. We should take the tissues, cell salts, as one uses health foods, not simply to change, not health to health, but to keep the rate of blood vibration in the tone of health all the time. Biochemistry is the sign board pointing to the open country, to hills and green fields of health, and the truth that shall set the seeking ego free from poverty and disease. Conservation and transmutation obtains in all the commercial world. The force of falling water is transmuted into the product of the factories. Steam, the vibration of copper and carbon, discs that turn night into day, the chariots that run like lightning and jostle each other in the streets, are the effects of the transmutation of base or basic material. In some far tomorrow, when the subtle vibrations of the Aquarian age directed by Uranus shall have awakened and called to action the millions of dormant cells of the wondrous brain, man will, by the power of his lost word, conserve and transmute the material substance of his body, the soul or ion, because there were no J in the old days, or John, so it's ion really, not John. And with the product, the precious ointment or oil triumph over the cross at Golgotha, and ascend to the pineal gland that transmits the Christed sun to the optic thalamus, an all-seeing eye of the chamber, and thus furnish light to all that are in the house. Are you digging this? So you can build your cathedrals and your mosques and your synagogues all day. You're completely and utterly getting all your influence from outside yourself. You're nowhere near the kingdom within. So I've just added there and just highlighted it that crucify actually defines as increase in power. I mean, you know what I'm saying, guys. That says it all, does it not? Page 33, that. Synchronicity. Anyway. And when the ego shall have triumphed over the carnal mind and transmuted the crude soul fluids into the gold of the new wine, it will ascend to the Father, the upper brain. And the temple needs no light of the sun by day or moon by night, for the light of the Lord doth lighten it. Thus will the blood of Christ cleanse from all sin. Yeah? So it's not the geezer over there that had to bleed for you to eat it. You have to create it inside yourself. Yeah? So, what does that say? You know, obviously they have to physicalize the system because it's below the heart. Boom, there's your horizontal plane of control, blocking that natural up down, as you saw my perfect drawing on blackboard when you were all in school for that one particular session. Do you remember, from Wise Asylum? Because I forgot we are in the Wise Asylum. If you didn't realise, I forgot to say it at the beginning. Never mind. Where are we now? O Lord Uranus, Son of Heaven, ruling the sign of the Son of Man, may they exclaim, I have fought the good fight, I have finished my course. So it's an allegory, isn't it, to one man telling you exactly how to do it in parables and the story, and how you apply, or what modus operandi you apply to that story. You are going to see a real, tangible, scripted, truthful endeavour. So everything else, of course, well, outside yourself, innit? Chemistry is kingdom within, remember that. Astrology, in essence, again, is kingdom within. So that's two bodies of knowledge you do want to be aware of. Numerology, all these building the body, aren't they? That's the 12 parts building the 13, the you, the expression that you are, by definition of how you're utilising everything within. If you're taking everything within without, what a mess. You're turning your inside into an outside, and that's why the world's so big and the earth apparently looking rather beleaguered. But of course she's not, she just got on. So where are we now? The word psychometry was coined by the noted scientist Joseph Rhodes Buckner. It is derived from psycho or suck, the Greek for soul, and mitron or meter, to measure. Therefore, the word psychometry means literally soul measurement. Soul is from the Hebrew nefesh, meaning breath, and the Greek word such, which means breath. So soul is breath. What is your breath? Some have stinky breath, some don't. Some breaths smell of roses, peaches. Some stink to high heaven. You know what I'm saying? That's a measurement of your soul. Maybe. Is it? If we apply psychometry. I mean, usually it's just because you've got a filthy gob. You know what I'm saying? But anyway. God breathed into man the breath of life, and he became a living soul. So it's that seed in it, that Christy juice, that oil. Doom, it bangs that pineal gland. Away you go. You're a living soul now, you're not dead. And what is the legal system? It's the system for the dead. Thus, every atom of the body is soul stuff, and the complete body is the soul that can be saved or lost. While the entire body is soul, the scriptures refer in most instances to the nerve fluids, grey matter of the brain and marrow of the spinal cord, or the river of Jordan, as soul. The word breath is translated soul more than 500 times in the Bible. Paul writes of body, soul and spirit. So it's body, breath and spirit. The contention that psychometry is a science and therefore worthy of recognition is sustained by two indisputable facts. First, chemists all agree that there is but one substance in the universe, which in different degrees of fineness, attenuation or rates of motion, causes all appearances, all forms, all that we see, hear, feel, smell, or in any way sense, thus corroborating Herbert Spencer's statement that all things proceed from one universal energy. Second fact, every person who is at all sensitive to impressions is more or less affected by the influence, the aura of clothing or works of art or any product of man's hands, as well as natural products, but more especially are they affected by reading the written or spoken words of individuals. No theory seems better established as a fact than the theory that the particular vibration or degree of intensity of thought, or the particular quality of a writer or speaker, is transmitted to the reader or the listener, and that's page 25. Remember, these are just short versions of what's in the book. It expands it quite a bit. When we awaken to spirit consciousness, knowledge that we are egos that have bodies or temples and not bodies that have egos, we see the object or reason of all symbols or manifestations or form things, and we spell the words again, and this is called psychometry. Now, New Agers need to look at that. That's definitely a paragraph for everybody that's sucked in to the New Age, because it's inverted. The New Age system is an inversion of all the mysticism from around the entire world. It's an inverted, because it's pulling into Noahide. Let us make the proper distinction between reason and intuition. Intuition is knowing. Reason is only supposition. It is. It's a process you apply to the process of thinking, isn't it? Reason, logic. You're applying that in a thought process. Yeah? And so these are products that you need in order to service a particular thing. So intuition, which is, it's the direct, is knowing. But anything else that you've conjured up by reason, logic, and whatever, doesn't mean it doesn't have, a virtue. But ultimately, there is a difference between two, which is why a lot of sciences can find a method, but then also it can be undone as they learn something new in. Both are true, but knowing is always the way to go. Where are we now? So reason is only supposition that a certain thing or theory is true. If it be demonstrated that the theory is false, the structure or argument built upon the sound formation of reason falls. Intuition does not depend upon reason or so-called logical deductions. Well, I wouldn't blame reason and logic as a thing, because they're just a means to an end. It's always ultimately up to the 13, isn't it? The character that's dealing with all this data. What does he do? Or she do? That's where the judgment for comprehension of the situation should be applied. Not just labelling it on logic and reason as a whole, because we all use it. Oh, actually, last 3 years, no, we don't all use it, so never mind. Let us make the proper distinction. No, done that. To psychometrize, that's a new word, we should wait for the still small voice of intuition and not attempt to find truth by the material roads of reason and logic. Exactly what Nikola Tesla says, and what he did. Yeah, he didn't do the physical science first. He created the ideas in his mind, or astral travelled using his third eye. When he was happy with the picture in his mind, then he applied it to the physical construction. So there you go with that. That's what he's saying there. Relax all bodily functions and thus quiet material operation, and you may read so-called inert matter as you would read printed pages. Psychometry is a miracle made natural, or occultism engrafted into everyday life. Nothing is hidden that shall not be revealed, and humanity stands at the door of the new day, when none shall say unto his neighbour, know the Lord, for all shall know truth, and truth shall set them free. So nobody would have to be going on about it. There'd be no religion, no talk of gods and goddesses and all blah, 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 because they know the truth. There's no need to keep blabbing on about it. You only have to blab on about it when you know yourself you don't know about it and you're desperately fishing for answers without giving up the fact that you might not be what it is pretend to be. You know what I'm saying? That's the clever bit. So the magician's very good, as we've said before. The magician is exceptionally clever. That's page 37. A devout scientist presented himself before God and said, Lord, what are these games men call oxygen and hydrogen? Or gases, not games. The answered said, the molecules in the blood and body of the universe. Then spake the scientist, wilt thou tell me of the kind of molecules that compose thy blood and body? The student understood. The Lord replied, these same molecules, gases and principles compose my blood and body. For I and the universe are one and the same. Once again the scientist said, what is the spirit and what is matter? And the answer, as ice and water are one, and the gas and water are one, so is spirit and matter one. The different phases of manifestations cognized by man in the molecules of my body, that the universe are caused by the word. Thus, they are my thoughts, clothed with form. So again, sound. Do you know when you get that tray, sand, and hit it? Get a particular frequency going, it creates a pattern, doesn't it? And obviously there's more going on than that, but that's the basic sort of allegory they use in sound as to how it creates form of all different degrees that we know down here, you know, right down to stone, solid, right up to gaseous. It's all the same, just in different expressions. Now the scientist felt bold, being redeemed from fear, and asked, is my blood then identical with the blood composition and divine essence? Answer, yeah. They were at one with the Father. The scientists now understood and said, now mine eyes are opened, and perceive that when I eat, I partake of thy body. When I drink of thy blood. And when breathe, I breathe thy spirit. So I'd say that's what the bread and blood part of the Mass is actually, at an higher level, is sort of expressing. So, again, you know, when everybody goes, oh, it's satanic and it's evil and you're eating folk and cannibals, you know, it's just a trigger, innit? It's a trigger because you're down there at the bottom end of everything and you can only see things in red and white, as it was originally. No, I've done that. So-called matter, pure intelligence and nothing else, because there is nothing else. Pure intelligence cannot progress or become better. There is nothing but intelligence, omnipresence, omnipotent, omniscience, but must mean intelligence. Therefore, these terms are all included in the word. That's page 39 if you want to explore that. The men and women who do things take hold of opportunities and materials that they find all about them now and operate with them. Astonishing results follow the efforts of all who recognise that eternal force has a use for them now to carry out the divine plan. We are all operators or workmen in the divine workshop, and the divine intelligence, the eternal IT, or it, made no mistake in placing any of us here, but does insist that we recognise that now is the time, and here is the place to do our best, as the great cause does not need to first practice on lower forms in order at some future time to attain perfection. We must recognise and practice being in the present, instead of becoming in the future, for the eternal now is all the time there is. And that is so true. The only truth about this place is this moment. Now. That's it. Everything else is arcing back to a past or projecting into the future. But this is reality. Me talking to you, listening to me. That's reality. This moment, nothing else. You know, birds, if you ever watch birds, they're so focused to... They're not tossing off and thinking, oh, I'm going to get pissed tonight, and what can I do tomorrow? They are just focused to whatever it is they're doing at all times. It's quite ridiculous. You know what I mean? That's the now, isn't it? They're just there doing it. But you say, your science is taken away, my God, and I know not where you have lain him. On the contrary, I have brought you to the one true God, which was and ever shall be. The 5th verse of the last chapter of the book of Job reads as follows. I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now mine eyes seeth thee. So it's always there everywhere, but what are we reading it with our senses? You know what I'm saying? Have I heard of thee by the hearing of the ear? Oh, I've done that. The wonderful writings and scientific statements found that book of all books, the Christian Bible, were recorded at dates. See, they say Christian Bible. No, it's only the Gospels of the Christian. You know, I don't know why people don't get that. Which is why them that don't want to take the Gospel hate it. You know, to call it a Christian Bible is rather ridiculous. To call it a Jewish Bible, again, is ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's like beginning to say, oh, it's ours. We need it. We read it. It's ours. And you have to do what you're told. And then when you started doing what you were told, that weren't good enough. They had to invent something else, more drastic, the Talmud, so that they could start screwing it up because you were all a bit too obedient. And they needed guys to go and do fighting for them, war and blood and shit like that. You know what I mean? So they had to always keep installing this other version, this base shocker version for the fruit bats. The wonderful rights and scientific statements found in the book of books, Christian Bible, were recorded at dates covering thousands of years by men and women who never heard of each other. Some of these teachers lived way back in the age where the solar system was swinging through the zodiacal sign Taurus, when phallic worship prevailed, when the number 6 was understood as sex, and the creative or formative principle operating through the sex functions was worshipped as the very holy of holies. So that's your elite. Other teachers who contributed to the knowledge of life and its operations contained in the Bible lived the age of Aries, fire sign, when the fire and the sun were worshipped as the essence of God, and as heat, the cause of the phenomenon called fire, cannot be seen, was a reasonable thing to say that no one can see God and live. So then depends upon the point of view one has of God, or the spirit of things, whether he says no one can see God and live, or says now mine eyes seeth thee. I think the writer of the book named Job must have lived more than 8,000 years ago, even before the Taurian age, symbolised by the winged bull of Nineveh, which was in the Gemini age, the age of perception and expression, being an Ur age. Let it be understood that an age in this conception means a period of the solar system to pass across one of the signs of the Zodiac. In the Ur age, egos awaken to the divine heritage and realise the godhood. The writer of Job, then, living in the Gemini or Ur age, could see God and live. Our solar system has entered the sign of Aquarius, another Ur sign, and the spiritualised elements so act upon our brain cells that we are able to understand the teachers of the past Ur age and also see God and live. So it's basically saying we would actually, if we looked into the Gemini age and what we know about it, we would actually gain a lot from it because it's another Ur sign. So that makes sense to me, you know what I'm saying? So we've got everybody going on all over, you know, there's still bull worship, oh, they're dragging hell back, oh, blah, blah, blah. Them are your elites. Them are your elites. That's what make up your elites. Them that are drawing on past ages and carrying themselves through by blood. You know, oh, it's my ancestors, oh, I can kick your head in because my ancestors were Vlad the Impaler. I mean, that's Putin at the moment, isn't it, you know? But he's not actually impaling. Guys who were impaling, Vlad were impaling, he's impaling. It's other lot there. So, anyway. It's another one. Where are we now? Aquarius is the only human or man sign of the 12 signs or sons of Jacob. Jacob in Hebrew means circle, the sun or sun in the sky of Jacob. Dan and Daniel means a judge, and is the sun that rules Aquarius. Therefore, we are now in the judgment age. So, judgment means you're at a time where you can expand your comprehension. They use the term judgment. You've got to see it like that, not how these nut jobs see it in their Agis wigs. You know what I'm saying? That's not the right judge. Judgment means comprehension. And we're in that time now where we all have the ability to update our comprehension. Unless you're a fruit bat. So the day of judgment will last about 2,000 years or while the solar system is in Aquarius and ruled by Dan, the judge. So then, statements made relative to the end of the world in general way referred to the entrance of our solar system into the sign of humanity, or Aquarius, the sign of the sun, son of man in the heavens. And that's page 60. Here is a memorandum of some doings of Uranus during the French Revolution. This sun, or son of heaven, Uranus, as the Greek meaning heavens, was in the constellation that rules France. In 1776, Uranus was in Gemini, the ruler of the United States. 84 years later, the length of time required for this planet to pass through 12 signs, 7 years in a sign, brings it back to Gemini, and then we had the Civil War. So, you know, that's what I'm saying, the French Revolution, which played a big part in American Civil War, and vice versa, a lot of the American Masons played a big part in the French Revolution as well. And they were operating from air, as it were. So I don't know whether that makes sense. So that's another, basically just showing like how Uranus, what we're behaving in Gemini. We're pretty naughty boy, really. But Uranus overthrew kings in France, then kings on this continent, then shackled slavery. In the year 1912, Uranus entered the sign of humanity, a world sign or a sign of the whole earth. And astrologers look for world revolution and the overthrow of all kings, emperors, tsars, kaisers and tyrants and warlords, whoever and wherever they be. Well, the puppets that operate for the priesthood that runs it all and doesn't really care, as long as it controls you. And that's page 61. Paradox. Man asserts that God is love and then writes in a book, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. You see, I've never understand that when they go, you have to fear God. You go, well, I don't fear my God. My God's a nice guy. He's sane as pen, you know. It's just, you know, people, and they're into that. Oh, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? Love. My God's and I'm afraid of him. Well, you fucking fruit bat, aren't you? Anyway, sorry. My apologies, I'm getting a bit excited. But, man declares the laws enacted by legislatures and Congress as sacred. Or declares, rather. He then violates these laws, carries his case to the court of last resort and gets the sacred laws repealed. Spiritualists say their orthodox belief in a personal devil, one big fellow with hoofs and horns, is quite absurd and amusing. And then these former reformers declare that most sickness is caused by evil spirits. Physicians experiment with poison and find that certain drug will cause disease in the human body when taken internally, and when called to prescribe for the sick, they administer the drug that causes disease, believing that 2 diseases are better than 1. So that's page 66 if you want to, is slating the old medical system. The inner eye, the eye behind the eye, just above and attached to the pineal gland by delicate electric wires or nerves, is called optic thalamus and means light or eye of the chamber. In the Greek it means the light of the world, the candlestick, wise virgins. The temple needs no light of the sun, if thine eye be single. Thy whole body shall be full of light. And other texts in the New Testament refer to this single eye or optic. Now this is where they twist it, the Jesuits and the Masonic. And their eye, of course, is the bottom, the anus, which is why they like to shag it. Okay? This is where you get your Cherry Marines from. All these murdering Special Forces units, they're all doing that naughty, you know. They're all looking up each other's bottoms for the light, man. Let us now search for the oil that feeds this wonderful lamp, the all-seeing eye. Christ Jesus is made to say, I am the light of the world. The word world comes from whirl, to turn as a wheel, to gyrate, etc., which we looked at with the Rotary Club, the rotary wheel, the rotary jurisdiction. The human body is a certain rate of activity, motion, or whirl, i.e. world, and light of the world, and the temple that needs no light or sun or moon to refer to the body, the temple of God, when there is oil in the lamp. Until we know the meaning of the words Jesus and Christ, we will not understand the Bible, which is written in Greek and Hebrew, and translated and retranslated to suit the whims and ignorances of priests and charlatans all down through the centuries. Page 76. The word Jesus is from iktos, Greek for fish. The word Christ means a substance of oil, consistency. An ointment or smear, varnish or paints are used to preserve or save wood, or paper or cloth. Hence they become saviours. So oils are classed as saviours. Every month in the life of every man or woman, when the moon is in the sign of the sun, every month in the life of every man or woman, when the moon is in the sign that the sun was in at the birth of the individual, there is a physical seed or son of man born in the solar plexus, or the pneumogastric plexus, which in the ancient text was called the house of bread. Okay? It's also the manger. Okay? Bethlehem from Beth, a house, and helm, bread. Cast thy bread upon the waters, and it shall return to thee after many days. So again, this is speaking of this chemical. Waters are the blood and nerve fluids of the body that carries the fish on its divine journey to regenerate or save and redeem the man. Nazareth means to cook. Nazarene means cooked. So Jesus the Nazarene was classed as a cooked man. Yeah? Cook means to prepare. Any materialized thing is bread. So anything that we make in the old days were classed as bread. Yeah, so it's not just bread made from wheat, which you get from the Lutheran Christianity take on the game. Bread in the old times depicted anything that was made, the product. Yeah? Nazareth, mass, masso, or dough. Thus the Catholic Mass also masso and then -n. So it's within both of those systems. It says it will now be made plain why the Masons and Catholics are not in agreement. For our letter N is an abbreviation of the 14th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Nun. And it's a bit Egyptian, that N. There's a lot more to be known about N, I'll tell you. A fish. By adding N to masso, the riddle of cooked or prepared fish was made so plain that the priesthood strenuously objected, and thus developed friction between the church and masonry. So it's upon that 14th letter and the sound N, yeah, and which is also Egyptian. This is the origin of the falling out, not playing out with each other anymore, because the mum said between the church and masonry. At about the age of 12, Jesus was found in the temple arguing with the doctors or teachers. The word doctor is from Latin decore, or to teach. The disciples were fishermen. The early Christians used a fish as their secret symbol, and money to pay taxes was taken from the mouth of a fish. The storm means sex desire. The firstborn means the first seed or fish. Pharaoh is sexual desire, so it represents the kings, the monarchs below the heart. Yeah? Below the horizontal plane of control. And that's the realm of Pharaoh. Yeah? That's what it is. So I'd said to Sean Ross, China, the minute you pass past that, your entire life won't be besmirched with Pharaoh's symbols, and you might chill a bit, lad. So Pharaoh's sex desire always tries to destroy the firstborn. So when that seed's born in your solar plexus, don't waste it, unless you're procreating. You know what I'm saying? But then, of course, there's sacred sex as well with your partner. What it means is don't lob it off to porn, and don't run around banging anything and everything. You can get away when you're young, but when you get a bit older, you're supposed to chill out a little bit. Because if you don't, the sexual desire is what destroys that first, and so it can't run up the spine and go bingo in the old pineal gland, and you go, like that. Egypt means the dark lower part of the body. The part of the body below the solar plexus. But then it was broke up into both with old ancient Egypt. So it represented the two, upper and lower. And this is what they don't want you to know. They want everything Egyptian to be classed as evil. And pagan, that trigger word. When in reality, they're only taking the lower Egypt, and the they got the middle Egypt as well. But look, who knows what happened to upper Egypt? I think that's what zoomed off everywhere and took root in Europe and then across the West, personally. Upper Egypt. And which is why such great empires were built, which we see in all the architecture that they're destroying all across the world. So it means so Egypt means the dark lower part of the body. The part of the body below the solar plexus or manger is Egypt. So the solar plexus means manger. So to be born in the manger, is the Christos. It's not all just about a little baby called Jesus or Yeshua. It's whatever's born in that solar plexus or the manger, and below that is Lower Egypt. So he doesn't depict that, but I'd say that because I'd have to add that as through Egypt did split itself. Or the kingdom of earth. All above the centre constitutes the kingdom of heaven. So that's above the heart. So if you've got a block on your heart chakra, which is what about 80% of the entire world have got, a lot of it due to abuse, children, traumas, etc., etc. This is why they do it, folks. Keeps you and forms you. They'll control you, the man. Get you till you're 7. Do the sodomizing like Spartans did, and Spartans claimed to be, knew they were from Egypt. So it's obviously Lower Egypt. And they'll create you an adult, a man, below the heart. All above the centre constitute the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within you, so it is, but it's above where you're at. The manger or Bethlehem is the centre or the balance. I'm not so sure I'd go with that, because for me the heart's the balance, so that wouldn't be the manger, or then it wouldn't be Bethlehem either. Because if the manger and Bethlehem are the same, and that is the solar plexus, from my studies of the chakra system, the centre, the balance is the heart chakra. So if anybody's got any data on that to contrary or support it, that'd be good. The Nile and Moses and Pharaoh's daughter all refer to generation. Page 78. To prevent the loss of soul and flesh is the mission of the Son or seed or of God or the Son of Man. There are 2 very small nerves that extend up from the sacral plexus on each side of the spinal cord and cross at the base of the brain and unite the medulla oblongata. These nerves or delicate wires are called the Adi and Pingala. The 2 pillars. After the seed or fish has been Christed, if it is retained and not wasted in sexual desire, it goes up to Golgotha, the place of the skull, and crosses the wires, then remains 3 days in the tomb or the 3 chambers of the pineal gland. Then it enters the optic, or third eye, and giveth light to all that are in the house, man. Even the house music, that is the Beth, even house music, when it started, we're on these trips, you could see this. House music. House music and ecstasy. Oh my word. What an absolute physical representation of it. So giveth light to all the house. That is the Beth, or body. All the 12 functions represented by the 12 disciples, the 12 signs of the Zodiac. Before the neophyte can fully realise, so this is Masonic, before the neophyte can fully realise the power of the divine eye with his own brain, he must understand the meaning of or, especially in its relation to the word, and Jordan, which was actually a Jordan, because it was I, no J, not Jordan, is the word in the original text. I is from Iod, the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and means hand, or that which creates, or is gold, not metal, but the precious substance, the seed. Dan is Hebrew for judge, therefore the creative power operating through the precious substance produces judgment, or the man of good judgments, or it produces good comprehension. You see with different eyes, your eyes are open, ears, everything's open, instead of being stuck down there in garbage. The upper brain is the reservoir of this ore, and is the grey matter, or precious ointment, or Christ. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. All things were, or is, created by it. The lost word is a symbol of the generative or animal thought eating the fruit of the tree of life, thus destroying or losing the gold or of the body. So misusing that generative principle is what is the term eating from the tree of knowledge. Wait a minute. So it's a tree of knowledge, isn't it? Because the tree of life hasn't been activated. If you're cocking up that seed, you're eating of the tree of knowledge. Your tree of life it's not activated. Now that's also symbolic in the Kabbalah, but of course keep away from the Kabbalah because it's been inverted. Would be my advice. Hiram means highborn. So Hiram Abif here, or the seed destined to reach the pineal gland and single eye. So the story of Hiram Abif, same thing. Murdered, weren't it? The 3 desires, So Hiram is highborn, or the seed destined to reach the pineal gland and single eye, if it's not snotted. Before it gets a chance to. Tyre means a rock. By the conservation and transmutation of the sex substance, the pineal gland becomes firm and hard, and in the fable called rock, Tyre. The wise man built his house, Beth, or body, upon rock. So here we have the explanation of Hiram Abif. Abif derived from the word Abid, month. Hiram Abif, there are some who will understand, was resurrected during the decay, the delay caused searching for his body. In other words, 28.5 days past month, and another seed was born, which the candidate for initiation admonished not to slay. So these initiations and such, you're going to go along with this. But of course, the energies that you're around in these secret societies, they're polluting it. They're polluting it through the use of magic and therefore magnetism and electricity. So once you get into these systems, they're trapping you. They're giving you the knowledge from the heavenly realms, but you make sure you're still trapped down there in the base. So the higher you're going, then the higher you're going into the inverted system. So you've got to be a bit of a twat to go to the top, because you've got to enjoy it all. The upper brain, the world, and furnishes that all man contains, or is Jesus, was not Saviour until he was Christed by Ion in the Jordan, or John. Then he became the beloved Son. Why was the baptism necessary? Because there were 2 fish. One was Jesus carpenter, the man, the other the Christed Jesus, the Son of God. The Christ substance gave the electrical and magnetic power to the seed to cross the nerves at Golgotha, without disintegrating or dying. So that's classed as the baptism. See, it all makes perfect sense, you know. To crucify means to add or to increase 1,000-fold. When electric wires are crossed, they set on fire all inflammable substances near them. When the Christed seed crossed the nerve at Golgotha, the veil of the temple was rent and there was an earthquake, and the dead came forth, i.e., the generative cells of the body, were quickened or regenerated. So the cells that are not operating, classed as dead, because they're not, we don't class them as dead, but you can because they're not active, they're in the bud form. But once this shindig goes down, bang, everything that was dead and not operating goes ba-ba, da-da, look at this, yeah? And that's the shamanic path as well, by the way. It's all same. Thus the crucifixion, oh, wait a minute, to crucify, no. Right. The crucifixion or crossing of the life seed gives power to vibrate the pineal gland at a rate that causes the light of the chamber to fill the whole body with light and send its vibration out along the optic nerve to the physical eye and thus heal the blind. Yeah? Let us hark back to the Nile. Pharaoh means a ruler or a tyrant or sexual desire. Israel means blood. Children of Israel, molecules of the blood, but more particularly refers to 13 monthly seeds, born in 365 days. So this is when we enter the fact of the 12 and the 1, or the 13. So I'll read that again. Israel means blood, children of Israel, 12 tribes, molecules of the blood. So this, but more in particular refers to the 13 monthly seeds born in the 365 days. The number 13 is unlucky for ignorance only. All so-called laws of nature may be reduced to 13. The origin of words and their application vary widely. Thus, the origin of 12 as circle or completeness or without break or sin, that is complete. All operations that produce something may be called 12. Being complete in order to produce. So that circle is the body that produces something. Yeah, and it's a complete system. And that is then where you get the product, which is then classed as 13. Yeah? Do you understand that symbolism, that allegory? I might have crapped that up a bit, but it's pretty simple if you apply yourself to what it's saying. Thus, all machines or factories symbol 12 and the product 13. Yeah? So baking a cake, all the things you need are the produce and they'll create the cake. That's the 13. That's what you were trying to create. Well, it's the same. When you apply correctly all that 12 to your chemistry, astrology, etc., then the product that you become, Christed, bang, you're fantastic and amazing. The Zodiac. There are 12 constellations, the central suns of which constitute the signs of the Zodiac. One sign rises every 2 hours, or so appears to our sense, because the rotation of Earth causes the phenomena, and the Earth or Sun makes 13. I don't want to be triggering flat earthers. Remember, this is from 1918. The human body. There are 12 functions of the human body and the seed, or psychophysical germ, born in the solar plexus every 28.5 days, and that makes then 13. And it's the 13th one that's important, as we've discussed. So then there are 13 moons in 365 days. The pneumogastric nerve or vagus nerve that comes down from the cerebellum across the medulla oblongata branches out at the lungs or pneumo, and at the stomach gastric, and is called the tree of life, the 13 letters. Also pneumogastric, 13 letters. There are 12 mineral salts in the blood, and blood itself is the product 13. So blood is actually a product of 12 mineral salts. And this is where it gets important in relation to getting to grips with this and coming to balance your body with these 12 salts. And of course the symptoms that you're having, if you follow them back, will show you which mineral salt you're lacking or isn't operating correctly. And so you can understand why they're blocking the UV, because you're not getting vitamin D5 vitamin D. I don't know where that 5 come from. So if you're not got your right vitamin D, then your body isn't digesting any minerals or vitamins correctly. So again, that's a major attack at that 12 salts, in order that the product that, or you, who you are, what you're experiencing as a 13 is shit. So that's page 82. It says, the origin of the allegory is founded on the rotation of Earth and the apparent rising of one of the signs of the Zodiac every 2 hours. We've said that. The historic meaning is based in the marvellous operation of the wonderfully made human body. All of the parables, fables or allegories of the human organism are related to 13. Moses, Joshua, Jesus Christ and all the characters of the scriptures are symbols of the psychophysical seed that is born in or out of the solar manger in the centre of the body, fed by the delicate nerves that branch from the straight and narrow way, the pneumogastric nerve or vagus nerve, so called because there are so many wandering branches nerves called the branches of the tree of life. This is why they use the caduceus in the medical, the 2 snakes going up, the vertebrae. That's why the medical industry uses it. Obviously, people get triggered. Oh, it's the evil, it's the devil, it's the soul. You know what I'm saying. But they're the kind of people that have just got shotted up to death anyway. Out of the receptacle or manger, a seed is born every 28 and a half days, or 13. Now you can see this. I got onto Claudio right away and asked him, how do I find out this? Anyway, Claudio's sorted in. He sent me this month, so I know what crack is. And I said to you last week, I'm going to test this. So in them 2.5 days, I'm going to work with this system to see. So I'm going to have to no naughty thinking, no looking at girls' bottoms, because I do that a lot. So that's going to have to behave for a little while we test this out. And I'll tell you all about it. Anyway, Genesis 35, chapter 10, verse, and God had said unto him, thy name is Jacob, the circle, thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. So once you ascend, you become Israel. So building Israel, where they built it, you can see it's built by the fruit bats and the people that believe in the fruit bat. All below the heart. And naturally, he's shitting himself around every corner. Israel here clearly points to the seeds, 13 every 12 months that cross Jordan. Jordan means the descender or oil flowing down. It can also be translated as hand called judge. Before the neophyte can fully realise the power of the divine eye with his own brain, he must have done that. Where have I gone here? Yeah, I've got. Right, never mind. Oh, I've done that twice. Okay. So here's just a couple of translation errors that are from Greek. He that saveth his life shall lose it, etc. And that comes from Mark 8. Hang on a minute. The above sentence does not ring true and is not logical. Right, that's a preemptive. He that saveth his life shall lose it. So that's nonsense, isn't it? You don't be going, oh, it's written by numpties. It says the above sentence doesn't ring true and is not logical. A Greek professor recently went to Oxford, England, for the sole purpose of looking into the Greek text in regard to the seemingly inconsistency. Also Luke 16:9, which we can see later. The discovery was made that the letter N, so it is all on this N, from nun, meaning a fish, was omitted. Also the letter O, and that the correct translation reads, he that saveth his life shall loosen it. Right? Yeah, the word wizards have been in this forever, screwing everybody over. So it's not, he that saveth his life shall lose it, which means we're all going to be martyrs and stupid. Right? It actually translates as, he that saveth his life shall loosen it. So if you don't waste that seed by knocking off and banging ugly girlies, and vice versa, sorry, I am a male, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, vice versa, no banging numpties is the key. Especially don't waste the one that comes in at that 28, at that 2.5 day period. If you save it, you'll loosen it. You'll loosen your life up to go up the old thing and go bang. Can you see the words wizardry? Like with Schofield, we saw it. So, you know, Schofield no believers and fruit bat believers. People that don't understand shit but are believers. So there is one. The seed in the fable, or Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, etc. Therefore, he that saveth his life, or seed, shall loosen it, so that it may enter the straight and narrow way. The straight is the vagus nerve, as has already been written. I am the bread of life. Again, cast thy bread upon the waters. Yeah? Bread being that seed, i.e. the straight. Cast thy bread upon the water exactly harmonizes with loosen it. Now Luke 16:90 says, and I say unto you, make unto yourselves friends. Yes, now this is the bread, the basket. You know, the basket they pass around every week, and I've always had a problem with, even for being a youngster, when I did it first in the Catholic Church. And all hell broke loose. You would have thought I was the devil, because I decided not to give them back to see. Well, the church ruptured, and my auntie nearly had an heart attack, of course, because she was responsible for me. But anyway, that aside, this is what they've translated it to mean, okay? So they can have their basket. And I say unto you, make unto yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, ye may receive you unto everlasting habitations. So he's basically saying that to be a good nigger, you've got to become friends of very wealthy people, even though they're unrighteous and abortionists. They should have been aborted. And it says literally that statement would nullify all the teachings of Jesus. Of course it would. And it is simply amazing that the so-called Christian world has so largely ignored it. However, a few critics from the Orthodox ranks, not being at all satisfied with the rendering, have tried in various ways to reconcile the paradox. And to that end, several pamphlets may be found in the theological departments of our colleges and universities. Here is the explanation by a Greek scholar that had been investigating, and it says, what it's supposed to say is, make unto yourself other friends than those who worship the mammon of unrighteousness. Yeah? That's every religion screwed. Yeah? You're paying money to mosques? No. You're paying money to synagogues? No. That's not what your book tells you to do. So, that's the end of that. And it is interesting stuff, but the book itself, it's only 129. It's only 129 pages. It's well worth a read. But we've covered major stuff there anyway. But it's a good one. Where are we? 129. Okay, we've got half an hour left. So I'm going to breach hydro loops, just so you're starting to get a bit of a gist as to what I've said. Because if you Google hydro loops, you're coming up with all sorts of nonsense. That's not what it is. Okay, it's got nothing to do with CERN. Oh no, wait a minute. It might have further deadline. I'm not so sure. So what you guys have had anything to say? I know I've bored you stupid. But it's, yeah, use the force, Luke, of course. Use the force, man. Don't waste it knocking off to porn and banging freaks and creatures. You know what I'm saying? You're just going to absorb all their bad chemistry. And then you have to start again next month. But at least it's hope, isn't it? It means you can always try again next month. You know, if you want to be a bad in 1 month, that's fine. You can be a bad one. You can be forgiven if you behave yourself on next one. You know what I'm saying? So you don't even need to go and do any of this. What do they call it? Confessing. You get what I'm saying? Because you're actually just confessing to an intelligence network, aren't you? And the more they know about their flock, the more they can cause problems and bring judgments upon you. Oh, no, that's a bit of blaspheming, is it? I don't know. I don't do blaspheming. So what are you saying, Sean? Through Sean. Wait a minute. Oh, good evening. So all his atoms says good evening. I just need to find where we are. High volume salt water. All right, you've been chabbing on, haven't you? No wine, Sean. This is Mew Pit is on the organic gift from Mother Earth. See, I'm on Evian and Dandelion and Burdock. And you saw what happened when I had some Peroni on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I only had 3, or whatever. I felt absolutely horrendous. When I look back at it, like I was dying. Well, I was all there. And that were 3 Peronis, and I do like Peroni. So what the hell did that do to me, lovely chemistry? I thought we might have started to create a Frankenstein, you know what I mean? Oh God, there's loads here. Oh my God, I'm going to be here in about 10 years. Right, that's interesting. So, can you make it bigger too? I can't yet, I've tried, and I can't do it in Streamlabs, it won't let me. And I know you said you thought it could, but it doesn't. I think it's my actual website myself. I'm going to have to do something with that website anyway, because, God's sake, you know, it's like, what am I like? Why am I like? It's useless. But fantastic and amazing at the same time. Don't forget this, you know. Well, there's, oh my God, I've had to read all this, there's tons of it. But yeah, I've done, here you are, yeah, here we go. I haven't been able to, yeah, I've done that one as well. Here we go. Feel pressure. It'll come out soon. It's all coming out, isn't it? I mean, it's only going to be picked up by people that have managed to save themselves from that raft of garbage. We've basically had your entire system attacked by all sorts of garbage. And there's a video now out about... No, we'll not get into that. Forget that. We'll leave. That's not for YouTube, is it? That's NumptyTube. No, never mind. I'll take that back. We're not going to talk about any of that malarkey because it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. You don't need to hear it anyway because you didn't do it, so it's all good. So you're all talking about Dan Winters here. The Jesuits created 2 opposing doctrines of futurism and preterism, counter the truth of historicism. Well, the Jesuits and what they were before, because it wasn't the Jesuits didn't all of a sudden appear. It was just another rebranding of something they'd done before, and I forget the name of it. But it wasn't. It was just a rebranding, just like it's like a rebranding of the Templars, you could say. But I have done it on a video, one of these videos. But you can trace it back through another line that did have Templar affiliations. So I always accepted that it was just a Templar system reborn, maybe under another control grid. I don't know. It says we'll come out soon. We're working on it and charge no currency. Okay. Health should be free. I'm not for profit based. Well, it is free, isn't it? It's called herbs. It's all there for you, made, ready made. Can anyone recommend any good CBD products, mostly joint pain? Yep. Give us a second. So, annihilates cancer. Annihilates it. Seen it. 2 dogs and 1 woman at stage 4. Annihilates it. So it's Hoffigal, cannabis sativa oleum, 100 megagrams, and it classes itself as hemp oil, but that is, you know, I can promote that because I've seen it. I've seen it do its business. Amazing stuff. Now, arthritis, you want anti-inflammatories inside you. So propolis, which the bees make, is an extra anti-inflammatory, excellent. Turmeric and fresh ginger. Fresh ginger. I mean, these stir fries that I'm doing now, which I've been doing a lot. Whoa, well, I was. I've got even just more amazing at it. It's unbelievable. But I'll tell you this: if you've watched that other video of mine, forget the potato. Do not put potatoes in stir fries. It makes it shit. It's really all about the pesto that you choose, the quality of the pesto. So I'm going to look at making pesto because it costs a frigging fortune, to be honest. But that's my next trip, is to learn how to make a good pesto. So superluminine, I hope that helped you. No, is that who asked? Yep. No, it should, yep. It works, Chuck, believe me. Different salt seems expensive if you're going to buy online, you can do it yourself. So we need to know the basics. Where do you get it from? Where does these salts come from? And then make it yourself in it. That's the only way to know that it's not been tampered with. Because they put polymer in everything. You've got to remember that. Cali Green CBD or Mevon Natural CBD. No wine shown. Says the Mew. Cos is waving and an alien. Alright, Cos, you've not been seeing aliens, have you? You prodded. Have they come and got you? Ooh. So, yeah, get ready for that. They're going to unlaunch this Project Bluebeam or Skybeam, as they seem to be calling it now, and mixing all them holographic images will be military craft, blowing the living shit out of you. So in case you haven't noticed, while you're all looking at Russia, you're all being attacked within your own countries by your government, by your militaries. Has it never occurred to you? That's the war. Russia is just there to get rid of your soldiers. Get rid of soldiers away from your nations, boom. All these Ukraine, Turkey trained shitbags. That's what's coming. Right, so okay, so 13th, well, you've got plenty to say, I'll say that. Alright, well, I'll just go through what you guys have said, because we'll do eyes or loops next week, it's fine. It's probably better to go through it with, you know, so you get the gist of it. So maybe it'll work well. There is one other thing I wanted to look at. Oh, do you know the moto proprio? That, the moto proprio that we looked at the other week, and I said to you I wasn't fully understanding what it were on about. So this is a piece I found that actually gives it a bit of an explanation. So let me... You can't say that, can you? It's done that again. So if I come out of that... But can... let me just see. I don't think... I'll do it this way, if I remember rightly. It doesn't... scroll. So let me just see. Oh, it does. Alright, I must be mistaken. Oh, that's super. Right, so this is going to give us a brief explanation of what has actually happened with that moto proprio. Bearing in mind, this is on the back of them moving all the assets to the Vatican Bank, as they did in September. Pope makes Vatican Foundation subject to control of curious economic bodies. Pope Francis issued motu proprio concerning entities established within curial institutions and hitherto enjoying a certain administrative autonomy, extending the new regulations also to entities based in the Vatican City State. The person, get this, this Pope is quoting, so he says, biblical. It says, the person who is trustworthy in very small matters is also trustworthy in great ones. Person? I mean, for God's sake, man, what crap's that? Pope Francis quotes Luke 16:10, so I'm presuming that's what that is. At the start of the motu proprio released on Tuesday concerning instrumental juridical persons, including funds, foundations and entities referred to the Holy See and registered in the list referred to in Article 1.1 of the Statute of the Council for the Economy, and having their headquarters in Vatican City. Well, we just looked at how they've screwed up the translation, haven't we, on unrighteous mammon worshippers, you know what I mean? Here they are. This is the end product of that mistake. Control and supervision. Although these entities have a formally separate judicial personality and a certain administrative autonomy, it must be recognised, the Pope says, that they are instrumental in the realisation of the ends proper to the curial institutions at the service of the ministry of the successor of Peter, and that therefore, unless otherwise stated by the norms establishing them in some way, they too are public entities of the Holy See. Therefore, since their temporal goods are part of patrimony of the Apostolic See, it is necessary that motu proprio reads that they are subject not only to the supervision of the curial institutions from which they depend, but also to the control and surveillance of the economic bodies of the Roman Curia. In this way, because God's that shit, he can't see what's going on in his own church, so he needs surveillance and all this. They worship a shit God. He's not up to scratch, if you ask me. In this way, instrumental judicial persons will be clearly distinguished from other foundations, associations and non-profit entities that are born from the initiative of private individuals and are not instrumental to the realisation of the ends proper to the curial institutions. Let me read that again. In this way, instrumental judicial persons will be clearly distinguished from other foundations, associations and non-profit entities that are born from the initiative of private individuals and are not instrumental to the realisation of the ends proper to the curial institutions. That sounds pretty worrying. So if you, is it a confiscation order? If you're not doing what they agree with, as a private individual, bump. Am I seeing something there that's not there, or is that what we've just read? Existing instrumental juridical persons will have to comply with the provisions of the motu proprio within 3 months of its entry into force, which is scheduled to begin December the 8th, 22. The role of the Secretariat for the Economy. The motu proprio consists of 8 articles. The third deals with supervision and control in economic and financial matters, establishing that the Secretariat for the Economy exercises supervision and control over instrumental juridical persons in accordance with its statutes and with its competence, adopts or recommends the adoption by instrumental juridical persons of appropriate measures for the prevention and combating of criminal activities. Fraud, based on the mistranslation. Yeah, is that not criminal activity? Because who was the victim? Everybody in the world. So I'd say to you, Francis Mule China, you based all this garbage on a fraud and mistranslation of biblical text when it comes to unrighteous mammon worshippers. So, that's a fraud, criminal activity, I'm a victim. All my offspring are victims and everybody that's ever come under Rome is a victim. Alright. We might all have a do, well, Native Americans, not just let Native Americans have a bash, yeah, come on, we can all have a bash here. Anyway. The 4th and 5th articles regulate accounting records and the exchange of information, stipulating, among other things, that instrumental legal persons must submit the budget and financial statements to the Secretariat for the Economy within the deadlines set by the same Secretariat, and providing that the Secretariat for the Economy and the Office for the Auditor General may always access accounting records, supporting documents and information on financial transactions. So they're just getting their arse into all your business. I mean, our government's operating under this as well. Oh my God. Census, everything. Article 6 deals with dissolution and devolution of assets and specifies how instrumental a juridical person is suppressed and placed in liquidation by decree of the curial institution from which it canonically depends, when its purpose has been fulfilled, or it has become impossible or contrary to the law, or in the case of associations, when the reduction in the number of their associates prevent their functioning. In view of a need to provide an organic and up-to-date discipline and legal persons based in the Vatican, the Pontifical Commission for the Vatican City-State also promulgated a law which entered into force on 8th December 22 that extends the application of the motu proprio to entities of the Vatican City-State. So I'm still not 100% sure, is this just based entirely in what's the Vatican, but then does it not then affect everything outside of it? That's my worry. Which then comes down to you as a person, doesn't it? If you're operating on person, oh dear. However, curial institutions and office of the Roman Curia institutions connected with the Holy See, the governance of the governorate of Vatican City-State, and entities professionally engaged in activities of a financial nature are excluded from the scope of the law. The These measures are in line with the reforms outlined by Pope Francis in the Apostolic Constitution Predicate Evangelium. So that's a diatribe, if ever I've heard one. What say thee lot? Can you left it? I'll just give you a bit of an insight into this Hydroloop, so I'll get you excited. So Hydroloop Limited, right? Private limited company. It's active, and the data is up to the 1st of the 1st, 23. Cure of International House, 24, Holborn Viaduct, City of London. Right? Now, Global Risk Reduction Funding Limited is what it is. Right? So it's all about risks. Now, if you're savvy, you'll realise that they're removing laws and rights and giving you safety. This no-hide system isn't based on rights, it's based on safety. And then you can recognise duty occur, risks. So it's going to be predictive. It's a system that's going to be based on what they predict might happen. You get me? So Global Risk Reduction Funding is actually Hydroloop's. Filter Office is Hydroloop Limited. And it's governed by international law, Uniform Commercial Code. Now you see how they're using the brackets off the page. Limited company by share, City of London is registration. Vessel, Futhorn Thorn Siharath. Vessel, Puthorn Bubba, 60 Oil Crescent, London. Yeah, again, blah blah blah. Vessel, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. It goes on. Right? Get this. By the head of the Mission Consulate General of the vessel, Puthorn Sirath, appointed by vessel Puthorn Sirath, for with of the life claimants. Now, this is sounding Indian to me, so this may be coming again, as I've said, from the Raj aspect of the British Empire. Correspondence address, Cure of the City of London, International House, 24 Holborn Viaduct, right? So this is in the City of London. Pulling everything together. Consul General, Department of Foreign Affairs. Officer of the Embassy appointed by the Consul General. Consul General, Department of Foreign Affairs for the vessel, by the Consul General. Again, Foreign Affairs. See, when I said to you, it's all the, what do they call them? We're ambassadors in each country. Consulates. What do they call them? I forgot. Here we go. Crown of the City, the Crown. Oh, Consul General of the Assembly for the Vessel, blah, 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 in the Crown. Cure of the City, look, what the fuck is this? It's massive. Yeah? Consul, this is huge, right? It's in the Queen. Cure of the City of London. Look. What is this? Yeah? So that's what this Hydroloops is. Yeah, and it's postal activities under universal service obligation. Financial intermediation, not elsewhere classified. So they create their own jurisdiction. Other business support service activities, NEC. Foreign affairs, which all the embassies, that's the word I'm looking for. All the embassies are in this. Now, oh, that's something we're going to look at as well. We'll look at that next week. The consulting on draft legislation to support identity verification in the metaverse, so the avatar shit. Where did I put it? Now then, get a load of this stuff. So you've all seen the law, you've all seen it, how it's operated, but have you seen it operate in something as big as this Hydroloop? So, Laos state flag. So this is Vietnam. For the contract postal vessel court venue with the flag by the postmaster for this claimant's knowledge of the live life, with this claim by this claimant for the neutral claimant, federal witness, capital postmaster, banker, plenipotentiary, notary judge, Vasily. Autograph. Right? Memorandum of Association, Unity Companionship for the company Hydroloop Limited, registration number. Incorporated on the 15th of October 2021. Hydroloop. memorandum of association and companionship. The company is used by the Jesuits, by the way. The British royalty used the term the firm. The registered office of the company is in the City of London. Is there a play of word going on here? I'm not sure. The person with significant control is Company Global Risk Reduction Funding Limited, right? To comply with Montevideo Convention of 1933, UN Articles of Responsibility of States. Yeah, so these are looking to take over states. The state as a person of international law should possess the following qualifications: permanent population, defined territory, government capacity to enter into relations with the state. This is a diplomatic operation. The objects for the company is established are for the persons with significant control. In the time being, is Global Risk Reduction Funding Limited, yeah? And then it gives you the terms here. Person, company, corporation, legal fiction, dead entity. Not the man, right? Not alive. By the claim of life, with the life claim is the proof of life, the man or live mammal. Both are parties of an agreement. So can you see, it does work, this stuff. This is real stuff, this language. Right? Now you've got your thumbprint, yeah? Boom, boom, boom. Autographed. Yeah, it's just word terms. To carry on the business in all aspects, including but without limitation, to build the Hydraloop system as a multifunctional transport system that offers a seamless transition toward the use of clean, sustainable energy. It also offers an extremely efficient way to transport clean fresh water using its multi-tunnel tube system. Right, this is how they're going to get in control of water. They've already dug the tunnels. That is not only able to transport goods, people, information, and energy at a fraction of the cost of other systems, but at the same time also fulfills the 6 key challenges currently facing humanity by using ecologically viable and economically sustainable solutions. This is your climate change financial system. Yeah, run through the embassies. Inner City of London, this. So clean energy is going through all these definitions, high pressure, it's going blah 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 blah. What Hydraloop system can solve? Hydraloop can provide real inclusive build back better global programme, flood and drought, pollution, energy crisis, food and water, climate change, its related issues. Can solve desertification, restore biodiversity, increase well-paid multi-general jobs, reinvite space agencies, private public work, blah blah blah. Yeah, pulling them all in. BlackRock, Vanguard. This is where they're all going to go. Fulfill the missions, company standard initial classification, blah blah blah, not limited to as follows: transport by pipeline, freshwater, development, building projects, activities, crop production, animal, water, treatment, fruit and veg, passenger freight, water transport, warehousing and storage. This is military. Renting and leasing passenger, leasing freight, utility projects, yeah, universal service, yeah, blah blah blah. You seeing this? Yeah, to deposit land or advance money, securities, or any of the property of every kind with a registry, yeah. Borrow, raise and take, they can do what the freak they want. Issue, grant, negotiate and deal in any way. Letters of credit, circular notes, bills, drafts, promissory notes. And all of the forms of credit, securities, instruments of every kind to build the Hydraloop system. Buy and sell bullion, specie, foreign exchange. Yeah, this is giving itself everything. Right? So then, I'll put this up underneath. So we need to start to get into this. To produce the registration corporate of the company in only God's law superior to natural law. Yeah, international law. So to get into this system, you've got to present yourself live, man. And it's obviously going to be way above and standing above the system they're going to throw out for everybody else. With legal forms, SQV Act 1666, Positive Canon Law 257, Uniform Commercial Code, UCC 1. So this will give you ideas of what you need to use. Yeah, just by looking at this document. Yeah? And again, it's what you state in the deed that gives it its power. That's the authority, that's the jurisdiction. Excuse me. So names and addresses describe subscribers, number of shares. Global risk reduction, £900 British. Sitikoran Misukal. Malahat Matakaram Marvi. This is Indian Raj stuff, boys. I'm telling you. Preliminary. Limited company shares. We don't need to. Directors. Subject. It's late Friday. The directors shall not be less than 2 in number. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. I mean, anybody out there now that wants to get their head into summer and got a bit of time, just cock a wink on this all the time. Just always give it a little bash, because this is massive, and it's going to show us powers of the company and future holding company. Company of future holding company will hold any time, blah, 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 blah. We're not going to go into that. Preference for the shares. No. Word terms again. So now, natural clip. Like, so this is the signing off. Life citizen. We're using the term and it's redacted. Life citizen. Life citizen. Right, copyright and copy claim. Have you seen this? Copyright and copy claim. It's obviously different to all rights reserved, right? Copyright, copy claim. Yeah, so we're not getting to see who they are. Now, when you get into these hydroloops and the embassies, you start to see people and folk that are out there that you hold in high regard. You're tied into this. Alright? So that's what we'll explore next when we have another look at hydroloops. What say you to that then? That's big, innit? Let's be honest, chaps. That is that's big as we enter this new year. That's a big insight into something that really needs to be looked at. So you guys are chatting well. That's good. Okay. The thumbprint through to life, yeah. But I'm just showing you how these at inner city level use the terms, use the words, and now I've said to you before, you really have to define the words you're using. There's no room for it to be judged by anybody else. You with me? So we've now got that on video for people to peruse. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, is what they're going to move Vanguard, BlackRock, and everything else you're seeing out there that they're pulling in to this Noah Hyde system. You know what I'm saying? And then with the moto proprio, I need to understand what it's talking about. What depth and degree of power have they given themselves in relation to all persons? That I didn't get it yet from just reading that, so I'm still not 100% knowing what's actually going on. So, oh, L's late again. You're so very naughty, you L, but it doesn't matter. The beauty of YouTube is you can watch it again, and that's good. Hydroloop, you mentioned the other week. Yes, it doesn't look good, does it? Let's be honest. It doesn't look groovy, and I've more. That's just a breach of it to show you the height of it, the power of it, what it intends to do, what it is doing. Yeah, because you keep your eye on Vanguard and that kind of stuff, BlackRock, because it's all going to be pulled into that. It's embassy run, so it's administrated via the embassies in all nations for the living man. They've used living citizen, so we need to understand what living citizen means as a definition, because it obviously is enough on paper to show yourself flesh and blood. So not only is it introducing hydroloops, but you can have a look at this document and you're going to learn a lot. You know, from what I've said in relation to building a statutory declaration, that it's all about making sure that you define the words. So important. It's laborious. But, you know, you've got to remember, you're building your own jurisdiction, you're building your own system, and you don't want anybody else to get in there. And that's all based on how you procure it, how you put it together. So important, that. So, I'm going to, with 2 hours, so I'm sure you're bored shitless by now. Oh, good, I'm glad you've got it. So, quantum grammar and all that, no, just be careful with that. Windmiller and gold, be very careful with them. Very, very careful with them too. I'm halfway through a recent video from gold at the moment. They are worth watching because you do pick up some data. But you remember they have a narrative that they want you to follow. Don't follow. Just take what's worth taking and incorporate it into your own systems that you're going to pull together. So yeah, monster, big monster, the old Hydra loop. It needs to be rigorously investigated, I will say. So I'll say to you, thanks for joining me. Thanks for taking part. It looks like it's been quite a busy chat there tonight. Good stuff. Leaves me with only one thing to say, really, chaps. And that would be, till the next time.
electronic engineering.